Now that the M3 iPad Air has launched, the outgoing M2 model is seeing significant discounts by third parties, which now makes it one of the best iPad deals on the market. Let's dive into why this is undoubtedly worth buying in 2025. So I'm based in the UK, and here I've seen the M2 iPad Air go for as low as £399 from Currys, and I'm sure in the US, where you guys are blessed with even better tech deals, you can probably easily find the M2 iPad Air for $399 from third-party retailers. And honestly, it's hard to beat the value this iPad offers for that price. So let's begin with the design. This looks identical to the M3 model visually. Literally, the only difference is that this has iPad Air written on the back, whereas the M3 model no longer has any text. But the colors and other hardware features are identical on both iPads. In fact, this doesn't only look identical to the M3 model, but also the M1 and the A14 iPad before it. So yes, they're basically reusing the same design since 2020, but I also can't blame Apple for doing that because it's a practical design that works. The flat edges are easy to grip onto and of course helps accommodate the Apple Pencil, and it would be nice if the bezels were thinner, but ultimately they serve a purpose. You can place your finger somewhere when using the iPad. The display also similarly is identical to the M3 model. It's 10.9 inches, LCD, has a resolution of 2360 by 1640 with 500 nits of brightness. It's also laminated with P3 support, True Tone, and has an anti-reflective coating. Now I know some techies might want that buzz-free smooth 120Hz refresh rate the pros offer, but I'll be honest guys, iPadOS is fluid enough where I rarely notice the lack of this. Brightness is also completely fine for indoor usage, and the Apple Pencil experience is unaffected by the lack of 120Hz. It's a laminated panel, so of course it's much better to jot things down on this compared to the base iPads. You know what else would be better for me? If you click that subscribe button, of course. It's free and would bring you the latest about Apple right to subscription box, so please consider it. Join the Saranbyte gang now. Anyway, let's now move on to accessories. This supports the Magic Keyboard, which Apple just refreshed with a function row, and I think it's a great accessory for those wanting the iPad to be a laptop replacement. I know some might be pissed off by the retail price, but do remember you can find the older Magic Keyboards without the function row for much less via third parties. I've seen it for as low as $100 on the used and refurbished market, which is an incredible price for how good this keyboard is. Pencil-wise, this supports the Apple Pencil Pro and USB-C Pencil, just like the M3 model. I'm sure you can see there's a recurring theme here, but anyway, the Pencil is great because not only is it quite useful for art and note-taking, but also video editors might appreciate using this for more precise edits, and Apple themselves have shown how Final Cut has been optimized on the iPads to better work with the Pencil. Performance-wise, we have the M2 in here with 8GB of RAM, and despite this chipset originally debuting in 2022, it's still a perfectly capable chipset, and apps like Final Cut run flawlessly for my edits, so it should be fine for most creatives too and the apps they use. Now, as a student or a regular consumer using this, you probably won't appreciate the benefits of the M series chipset as much, but it's nice to have this performance headroom because you should be sorted when it comes to software support. Of course, I can't know for sure how long this M2 iPad Air is going to be supported, but considering how good the M2 still is, I could see this getting another 5 to 6 years of updates, and since it's an M series chipset, this likely will continue getting all iPadOS features for a while, since remember right now, non-M series iPads like the A16 iPad do miss out on a few things, like Apple Intelligence and Stage Manager. Battery life is also solid, however I will say it's worse in my experience compared to other iPads, specifically the base models. I'm not exactly sure why, maybe it's the M2 sipping a little more power, but for most people's needs, this iPad should be fine endurance-wise. Now another plus with this iPad Air is the USB-C port. Whilst it does not offer Thunderbolt speeds like the Pros, it is still much better than the A16 iPad, with data transfers up to 10 gigabits per second, so trans speed should still be completely fine, and it does support displays up to 6K resolution. Quickly touching on the cameras, Apple does recommend you to add footage you record on the iPad to your Final Cut timeline, but please do not do this. Whilst it's not the worst sensor in the world, the rear camera should really only be used in a pinch for things like scanning documents. The landscape front-facing camera, however, is fantastic for video calls since it does have center stage, so it follows you around the room if you move. Speakers and mic-wise, you really can't go wrong with this iPad Air. It's not quad speakers like the Pro models, but it surprisingly gets close with 2 less speakers, and because it's a stereo pair, it's great for watching movies with. Mics have also never disappointed me, of course, and here's a sample for you guys. So here we have a mic test on the M2 iPad Air. There's some background noises you can hear, but hopefully I sound pretty good on this. Let me know how this sounds. Touch ID is also reliable, and this has Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 6E support, so as one expects, it's pretty solid in terms of connectivity, causing little to no issues. You also get 128 gigs of storage as standards, which is a much appreciated upgrade with the M2. That's also going to help with longevity for those planning to use this for long-term usage. So overall, the M2 iPad Air might be one of the best iPad deals available right now. This shares so much with the M3 model despite being considerably cheaper that it's almost a no-brainer to buy this at $399 or £399. You might as well save $200/pounds since there's not a massive performance difference between the M2 and M3. And I know the A16 iPad can be found for $100 less, but this has the better display, better accessory support, and the best M2 chipset, which can help with longevity. And so this iPad might be offering the best bang for your buck right now, and I highly recommend it. Obviously, you don't have to buy new from third parties. You can find it for even less on the used and refurbished market. And do remember, this iPad natively supports battery health features, so you can check the cycle count on the iPad if you're going to be buying refurbished or used with an older battery. Now, FYI, I only have the smaller 11-inch model, but the bigger size is very similar for the most part. It has a slightly brighter panel, but that's about it. And that has also come down in price, so I'll leave links below to both models. They're both great buys. Anyway, let's see what you guys are saying in the comments regarding the iPad Air. So FigWiddit says, I'm hoping they change the chassis at some point. They've been using this design since the iPad Air 4 from 2020. And yeah, that is true. I mentioned this earlier in the video as well. The M3, M2, M1, and A14 iPad Air all share the same basic chassis, and that chassis itself is based on the 2018 iPad Pro. So this design is quite old, and to be honest, I'm not too fussed about that. Yes, Apple could give us design changes, but they've kind of perfected the iPad design, and so there really is no pressure for them to change up the design. I'm guessing we may see a redesign when the iPad eventually gets OLED. It may get a thinner profile and thinner bezels like the Pro models, but yeah, that's about it. There won't be radical changes in terms of design for any iPads from here on, because as I said, they've kind of perfected the design. So Glockamore says, I purchased mine to last fall before the rumors of the M3. I'll be keeping mine for now. It does what I need to do and it's paid for. The once-a-year upgrade is getting out of hand. Cheers. And yeah, I know that we don't really need yearly updates for iPads, but I'm guessing Apple's doing this because they just have excess stock of these chips, and so it's very easy for them to do a chip swap, and of course, a chipset upgrade does create a new wave of interest regardless. But yeah, most people are not going to be upgrading the iPad on a yearly basis. And if anything, Apple upgrading their iPads yearly is great for us because it makes last year's model come down in price even faster, which has been the case with the M2, and it's now a terrific bargain. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.